Hello and welcome to App Talks. I'm Andrew Gothelf with the Salesforce AppExchange. App Talks is a series of conversations with Salesforce customers to understand how solutions from the AppExchange are helping to improve business outcomes. Today we're in Denver, Colorado at the offices of Solace Pediatric Home Healthcare, where I'll be sitting down with CEO Darcy Peacock and Director of Clinical Services Asya Rudikoff to understand how Skedulo has transformed Solace's ability to better serve its key stakeholders and patients. Darcy, Asya, thanks so much for having me here at your offices in Colorado, and thanks for joining us on App Talks. To start, if we could just give the audience a sense of what exactly Solace Pediatric Home Healthcare is and what its mission is.
We are a pediatric therapy mostly company. We provide physical, occupational, speech therapy, and some nursing services in the home to children really around Colorado. We're a Colorado-based company and we've been serving families here since about 2005.
And what are the two of you in particular? We've laid out your titles, but what in particular are you responsible for within the organization?
As CEO, sort of the traditional duties, I oversee all of our operations.
And I'm the Director of Clinical Services. So here at Solace, I oversee the therapy department, all of our clinical teams, as well as our patient access department. So for us, that's intake and scheduling.
I think it's important to understand just how much Skedulo has impacted your organization to first go back and lay out some of the challenges that you had. So before you looked for a solution like Skedulo, what struggles were you facing as an organization?
They were vast in nature, I would say. So we're a very fast-growing organization, and we currently have about 185 clinicians who serve our families. So when we would get a referral, and those come from a variety of different sources, they can come from a hospital, a pediatrician's office, a community center board, families themselves can call us. And so when we would get those referrals in, then we'd turn around and email back out to our clinicians. So we'd have to think about, okay, of my clinicians who serve this area, who of my speech therapists maybe has availability, who speaks Spanish, who's got feeding training, whatever that may be, and email out those clinicians. And then we would wait, and we'd wait to hear back from them. We're a unique organization in that I'm a clinician, Asya is a clinician, our owner, Mike, is a clinician, and so we've all been out there on those visits, and we know it's really challenging when you're working with a family to also be turning and straddling and looking at your email and trying to respond really quickly to a referral. So sometimes we wouldn't hear back till the end of the day. Then we'd go back to our referral source and say, great, we have this clinician who can see this family. And they'd say, actually, never mind, we already found someone. We were really not efficient in being able to be responsive to referrals that were coming into us, as well as it was a challenge for our clinicians. When we would get that referral, we weren't really using our resources really efficiently and effectively. So Susie might respond to that referral first, and we say, great, Susie, you can take this family. But then at the end of the day, someone else checks their schedule and they happen to be seeing a family in the same apartment complex or right down the street, and they also have an opening. So now we've already given this family to Susie, and she's driving 20 minutes to see them where someone else had an opening right then and there, and they could have worked with this family much more efficiently.
From a technology standpoint, what struggles were you having in terms of the systems that you had and how that was impacting your stakeholders?
We didn't really have much in terms of scheduling systems. So as Darcy mentioned, we had our scheduling team, our patient access team, many of whom had their own intricate maps of where the clinicians were that they were responsible for finding referrals for. And everybody really had their own system. It made things very challenging if somebody was out or if there was an issue that we had to solve with a particular family. Every single person who was responsible for taking in and scheduling these referrals was doing it in a different way. So that might be 3 spreadsheets, that might be a paper and pen documentation system. It really made it difficult for tracking purposes. It made it challenging to collect any sort of data and trend. How many referrals are we getting? Which discipline, what areas, what are our needs from a hiring standpoint? So everybody was doing their own version of their tech system, if you will, to get these kids services.
And what impact did some of these challenges have on your so clinicians, families, your own employees, and referrers? How were those challenges actually impacting all of those people and sort of in the way that you're trying to further the mission of the organization?
It really comes down to the families first. It was delaying our ability to get services out to these kids. So if we were waiting, so the physicians are waiting for us to respond, we're waiting for our clinicians to respond. Meanwhile, these families are sitting there waiting for their kids to start services. And some of these families might have gotten recent diagnoses for their kids. They might be in a state of panic where they really need that support. They want services, they want answers, they want somebody to come and evaluate their child and figure out what those next steps are. And while we're working out all of these operational pieces behind the scenes, these kids are sitting there waiting for us to get started. So there was a huge impact on the delay of getting these services to our families and just overall access for the families that we serve.
Also coming back to these families too, when we would not get the best fitting clinician to serve them right off the bat. In that example I gave, if Susie starts seeing them, but then that drive gets to be too long and she needs to transition them to another provider, that child's already formed a bond and has a connection with that clinician, they have to sort of start all over if we move a new clinician into that territory. So making sure we get it right off the bat is really important. A number of our kiddos have challenges with really building those connections and sort of that social piece, and so when they have to start over with that, it just delays their progress towards their goals.
Mm-hmm. And then for our clinicians, it was really impactful in that they were spending a lot of time in the car. And so some of that is the nature of home health. That's sort of what you sign up for. But we also realized that we could likely have a lot more control over that to make sure that the clinicians who are highly skilled and educated and are here to really provide these best services for these kids, they're spending most of their time treating their patients instead of driving around town. That customer group of ours really also was impacted by the challenges that we were having.
So you had these challenges. They weren't insurmountable, but technology was going to need to be found and implemented to help. What was that search process like? How did you find Skedulo and what made it the right solution for you?
We had several years ago moved to our first scheduling platform, and that was really our first shift out of these spreadsheets and these individual systems that everybody was using to take in these referrals and schedule services for these families. We were with that platform for, I want to say maybe like a little over a year, almost 2 years. And we recognized that while it was meeting a lot of our needs, it wasn't able to scale with us. And that's really what we were looking for as we started to explore different scheduling platforms. We started the search the beginning of last year. So January, February of 2018, we began our search, and we did a lot of Googling and we set up a lot of demos, and we came across the Skedulo website and we watched that little, maybe 2-minute video of what it looks like to schedule mobile resources. We really had like a happy dance in the office. We were so excited that something that we thought only existed in a vision actually existed in terms of a technological platform. So once we set that up, I remember going to Darcy and to our owner Mike and sharing this, and we set up the demo and really realized that this was going to be a partnership that was worth investing in.